Hi guys and welcome. This is part two of our Caribbean deep dive, specifically looking at Grenada. We're going to move on to things to see and do now. So, what would you say are the top three must-do experiences for first-time visitors?
Oh my goodness gracious me. It depends as a first time visitor what you're motivated by. I mean, I want to be a little biased with the question to answer that question. So, for example, one of my favorite falls in Grenada, hands down, is Golden Falls. If ever you get to see a picture of Golden Falls, the backdrop of the cascade is literally gold. That's it's gold.
Oh wow!
Um, and apart from that, it's the only waterfall in Grenada, and forgive me if I say this, that I am also aware of within the OECS. I'm subject to correction here. That has cold and warm slash hot cascade happening at the same time.
Oh wow!
So you have to picture this. The backdrop of the cascade is golden.
Yeah.
And the cascade that is for the cascade in and of itself, if you stand to the left, it's cold. You go to the right, and it's hot.
Wow, that's amazing.
I would call that Golden Falls. Along in that same area, that's the St. Mark region, we have the Tufton Hall waterfall. And Tufton Hall is one of the highest waterfalls. And again, I'm also tempted to say it might be one of the highest waterfalls within the OECS. And when I talk about the height, the way you have to imagine that waterfall, if you can imagine Big Ben, and if you're standing, let's say probably about 6 feet away from Big Ben, you have to the angle of your neck to see the top. That's pretty much the angle of your neck to see the start of Tufton Hall waterfall. So I start with that's my favorite thing to do. I'm an outdoors person, so of
Yeah.
course getting to the beach or hiking through the rainforest or rainforest related experiences. Hey, that's me. The other thing, of course, we can't be the Isle of Spice and you dare not try the culinary experiences. And so, of course, the second thing on the list, which might be most people's first, food. You've got to get yourself one of these culinary experiences, the Spice Foodie Tour, or you got to find yourself. And I like to say to people, the good thing about Grenada is that find out where the locals like to eat.
Yeah.
And get yourself in that line, whether that's a breakfast spot or that's a lunch spot or an evening soup spot. I mean, you can't go wrong with finding out where the locals liked it. And by that, there's quite a number of places that the locals would like to eat. Generally across the hotel restaurant experience, you have great food experiences. But of course, if you want to get out and about, Spice Food Tour and visit different parts of the country, because what you're going to recognize is that different parts of the country, you experience different dominant flavors of the same dish.
Okay.
So that's number two. So
Yep.
number one for me, I start with the outdoors. Number two for me, it's followed by the food. And then number three for me, of course, is good old Grandlands. Uh, you're talking about almost 2 miles of perfect white sandy beaches. You're talking about one of the top 10 best beaches in the world. Again, that's another award that Grandlands has secured on a few different occasions. So those are my three things. I start with my three things. Of course, if you're adventurous and otherwise intrigued, you've got the estates, visiting of the different estates. You've got the chocolate factory tours, which is something. Oh yes, boy, something I definitely have to. You go to Grenada, get a spice tour, get a chocolate tour, get yourself on a chocolate. You would be stunned at the amount of things that we do with chocolate. And the other thing, of course, is that rum.
Yeah.
we're also, you know, you can't get past the rum experience. And I like to say to people, funny enough, unofficially, Grenada produces about, with all the distilleries combined, we're talking about 170 something different rum products. 30 of those products have an award globally or otherwise of some kind. And the funny thing about that is just about 90% of all the rum products are consumed on island.
Exports are low.
So I say to people, you got to be on island. And I say this as one who has traveled extensively. I say this, and I don't say it because Grenada is my home. There are some things that you literally have to get on island to taste it. The manufacturer output is just not enough to have it exported all over the globe. So you physically have to find yourself on island to taste and to experience some of the products. Yeah. So those are my must do's for someone visiting Grenada for the very first time.
Yeah, awesome. I was going to ask you, what is a brand of vodka that we'd know? Sorry, a brand of rum that we'd know. But obviously, we're not going to know them because you don't give it up very easily. You keep it all to yourselves.
That's true. I mean, the good thing about it, each of the distilleries would have their top products. I mean, there's Rivers Rum, and Rivers Rum is made the same way as it did from the 1700s. So I believe that, so Barbados has the oldest rum distillery, which was 1703. And I think, so I was in 1740 something, a few years later after Barbados. The difference between Barbados having the oldest rum distillery and of course ourselves is that the rum in Grenada's case is produced the exact same way as it did from 1700. So if you go there, the way the harvesting, the processing, the burning, the crushing, the collection, everything is done the same way as it was done. It's water coming from the river, moving that well. The well, as it turns, crushes the sugar cane, the juice is extracted, it flows down into a vat that is heated, and you have incremental heat happening, etc., until you get to that place of distilling and having the rum produced. So that's what makes that rum experience very different. And then you have Clarkscourt, Ron Baird, and then Westerhall, and a few other names that doesn't seem to stand at the forefront of my mind right now, but all delivering excellent products.
So I assume travellers leaving Grenada are going to have to watch the alcohol allowance quite kind of closely, because there's going to be like a big chance to stack up on it before you go, but you're probably going to be over the limits quite soon, aren't you? I guess, but it sounds of it, because I will be.
Of course, but the funny thing is, I think the distillers also recognizing the challenge. They also make the travel-friendly version. Okay. So you can have the real deal on island, but as you leave, you have the taste. You have a taste of it. Yeah. So you get the travel-friendly version to leave the country with.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then, can you tell us about some of the lesser-known experiences or places in Grenada that people wouldn't have heard about?
Yeah, there are quite a few things, and starting with a number of waterfalls. And I like to say this. I like to say that one of the best ways to get to know a country is find out where the spot the locals like to go. You know, if you go there, if you're in the south of the island, visit the north, visit the east, visit the west, and just find out what they like doing. And I promise you, they're going to show you some things that is not on a tourist map, because there is just too much to fall under the umbrella of the tourism organization. Yeah. But the key thing about it is, when you get to these places, they're going to take you to some of their favorite spots. So if you're up in the north, there's a place that tourists would go, which is Livera, where the turtle watching and stuff happens. But above Libera is Piton, and that's a point. They call it Piton. And when you get there, you'll see it's one of the highest points, and you can see the other Grenadine islands, even St. Vincent and these places on a clear day. And the view, you have this 360 panoramic view, and then you can also discover the writings, past writing of the Amerindians. That's in that area. There's other areas, spring, what we call the hot springs, where you can go and have sulfur baths and stuff. That's also in the north. Leapers Hill, where you get a bit of the history between the French and the indigenous people, and you actually go to that place and you see where the indigenous people were forced to their deaths, so to speak. And then in there, there are some places where there are caves and stuff that the locals would know about. That's not on the tourist maps. For me, it's being able to visit some of the other islets, getting on a speedboat and getting to visit some of our other islets. And of course, if you get to St. Patrick, as I said, the guys on the beach will be happy to take you over to Isle, happy to take you to Black Rock, happy to take you to some of the other islands where you can chill and just discover more of what Grenada has to offer. So these include some of the undiscovered. Well, I don't want to use the word undiscovered. These include some of the less popularized opportunities to exploit.
Yeah, of course. So you've talked there about getting out and around the island an awful lot. So how kind of safe is it to be able to get around for the average Brit? Explain that to them.
Absolutely, and thanks for that question, because I like to tell people Grenada has no don't go zones. So that's the first thing I like to educate people. We have 0 no-go zones. Meaning, and the other thing about it, I like to say to people, and a lot of people do it as well, because once you come and you experience the spirit of the people, etc., a lot of people, they jump on the buses. Now, they're local buses. We just call them buses, but of course the tourists call them reggae buses because they play a lot of reggae, also music. And it's fun. It's fun riding. And of course they play it louder than normal. And it's like about, in the south of the island, it's about what, $1 to go back and so that's about $2.50 EC. And you can go from the town down or back, and you pay $2.50. The beauty, I like to say, as compared with the UK, where most of the buses literally either have a number and a title destination. So the buses would either have a number and it would say the singular destination where they're going. With Grenada, buses have numbers and it have more information. So you can look at it and somebody can say, oh, I want to go Concord. They get to the terminus and they just look for the bus and see, okay, which bus has Concord on it, and get on board. They want to go Grenville, they want to go here. So there's next to the number, you've got a few locations. So I like to believe that system is better, and it encourages people to get up and about. So you can literally just look for where you want to go, find it on the bus, and you jump on the bus and you go there. And of course, it's cheaper than your cab. It's going to be with the locals, and it's going to be a fun ride because you'll hear the local stories, you'll hear the jokes, you'll hear of a number of things that's happening in the day, and that's what makes the experience very fun for a lot of people.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of cool. So you're not really worried about how long it takes you to get somewhere. It's more about the journey than the actual destination arriving at.
Exactly, and I say all of this to say that if it wasn't safe, you couldn't have done that. And even the resorts, they encourage their guests to get out, go and experience the place, because that is the slice of heaven that Grenada is.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really good to know. Yeah, so Grenada is home to the world's first underwater sculpture park. Tell us about that and kind of what makes it so special.
I mean, and it's not just home to the world's first underwater sculpture park. I mean, we're talking about something that is ranked as one of the top 25 wonders of the world. And so
Oh, wow.
this sculpture park was started in 2006. And the person behind it, the artist behind it, is Jason DeCairis Taylor. He's a British artist. And as I said, as I always allude to, what makes this project very different in that, yes, it is sustainability and conservation driven. However, one of the things I thought was absolutely brilliant by Jason is that the actual sculpture pieces, they are in the likeness of individuals. And so you've secured buy-in from the very concept, the initials laying down. So now, as I said, this was done 2006. So now these people, they've all matured, have their own children, and they've got a reference point. And now that child buys into understanding the value of sustainability and conservation because he chose to use actual likeness. So now people feel responsible for that. We've since expanded on that in 2023, yes, we expanded. There was about 29 to 32 pieces that were added, and it was called the Coral Carnival. It's called the Coral Carnival, and that was among the first time where some painted pieces were painted sculptures. And of course, the paint wasn't just regular paint. It had to be conservation, sustainable paint, and it had to be a paint that was going to enhance the sculpture and not going to affect the ecobiology of the marine life and the marine ecosystem. And so the Coral Carnival represented carnival pieces or carnival portrayals that you would see if you could. So if you do come to Grenada in August, some of the actual pieces that are portrayed on the road, now you have an opportunity to see this. That includes the Jab Jab, that includes the Shokni, the Wild Indian, the Veko. These are some of the pieces that have now been inserted into the 29 new pieces. So the park has since expanded. And then you now have the second one over in Carriacou, which of course requires a bit of advanced levels of swimming / diving to experience that. The one in Carriacou, you need to be, your diving accreditation or diving experience need to be significantly higher than what is required for the one in Grenada, where even if you're a novice, you can go and just snorkel because the environment there is conducive to that. Whereas out on the sister isle, you have to already have a significant level of experience in diving or scuba to experience that.
Yeah, is it strong currents and stuff like that? Is it? That makes it a bit more challenging out there and things.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So where underwater sculpture began. It began in Grenada.
I actually remember seeing this on the news when it came out because I saw the picture. It kind of gave me a little bit of a flashback, but I remember seeing it before. And it was, I remember being talked about as one of the first that was coming out anywhere. But didn't, many years ago when I was younger, and I didn't really kind of relate it to Grenada. So.
Okay, and you have to also understand the value in using actual persons. I mean, this was the bigger picture, or the greater vision behind that was conservation. And one of the things, and you have to compliment the brilliance of Jason and the team, is that they felt that in order for people to be connected with the project, if we just take sculptures of anything and you put them in there with a view of conservation, it would just as well be any other project. But if you take the likeness of actual people on the island and you plug their actual likeness into a conservation strategy, not only do you have buy-in, but do you see the intergenerational connectivity? Because now you're talking about these individuals who were kids at the time. They're now able to naturally tie in their kids now into the story of conservation and sustainability. And this is what I think was one of the brilliance in the vision of proceeding with the project the way
Yes,
he
very
did.
clever. Yeah, very clever.
Yeah.
So, in terms of diving and other things, what else you got? This conservation area. You've got the other underwater park as well. I forget, I can't pronounce the other island. You said it.
Carriacou.
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 Carriacou. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Have you got lots of other reefs about there, or what else
Yeah,
is it to do
yeah,
with
yeah.
diving?
I mean, as I said, we offer the entire spectrum of diving experiences. We have, we also have, we're referred to as the diving capital of the Caribbean because we have more sunken wrecks than anywhere else in the Caribbean. We also have what is called the Titanic of the Caribbean, which is the Bianca C. It's the largest sunken vessel you can find anywhere in the Caribbean. And there's plans on board to continue to improve and to expand on the diving product. And so that being the case, we are consistently seeing the need to consistently be adding and expanding on the product and added to what's already there. If you come to Grenada, I guarantee you that your experiences would just be mind-blowing, regardless of your level of diving. And then, of course, we generally have great visibility. So that's the added perks of the diving. You get to see so much. The Bianca C was a vessel that would have sank. It had an incident in the boiler room, and when it was departing Grenada, an explosion happened, and it sank. I'll tell you what, forgive me, I think it was a total of 700 persons on board. 699 was saved by locals, and only one person died, and he died at the time of the explosion in the boiler room.
Yeah.
So that is the Bianca C. It was an Italian vessel at the time.
I thought they were trying to escape with all the rum, so you sunk it. I thought that's why it was.
If only.
So what else do you do then? Kind of sailing, is that a big deal around Grenada?
Yeah, we've got a number of regatta festivals, sailing festivals, and I mean, I can speak, just about them superficially, but of course we've got our nautical department that will be able to take you through the length and breadth of all things sailing, all things nautical. But yes, Grenada, we do have sailing festivals, regatta festivals, we do have fishing festivals where participants from the Caribbean and the world, Europe and over, all find themselves in Grenada to participate and be a part of something special. February, as well as we speak, the 29th, yesterday, is what we call Fisherman's Birthday. And Fisherman's Birthday, it's a huge celebration. We also had on the 19th of June, we had Fisherman's Birthday in the UK, a well-attended Grenadian Day Festival. And you have the culmination of that in Grenada. So it starts on the water, ends on the land with huge celebration, music, and festivities. So as for sailing and nautical related, yes, we do, but the length and breadth of that you will get from the nautical team.
Yeah, that's huge.
Of course, you got dune buggy, you got bareback jeeps, snorkeling, diving, sailing, hiking trails, chocolate tours, river tubing, you name it. Quite a few other things that you can be part and parcel of in Grenada if you're visiting for the first time or you're repeating your visits.
Yeah, if you've got any time in between the rum tours, the food tours, the music tours, then you have to get out on the beach and go do some other stuff.
Exactly. If you do get any time. But yeah.
Have to come back and book a second trip, won't they? Yeah, hi guys, thanks for listening. That is the end of part 2, and part 3 is coming soon.